Hi guys, welcome back to Johnny Custom Blocks Front Sight Press.
I'm trying to do it. I don't think I got it
Nice
right.
little weather, so it's
Trying to
going to
do
be Jeff, mostly Jeff. So here we are.
Yes. Mike is
Yeah,
out sick. He claims it's
yeah.
not the virus of unspecified origin from a country that we're not allowed to name, but he is sick. He's got some sort of crud or something, so apparently he is off for this evening. Now, if only he would go out and get that 11th booster shot that our dear president is telling everybody they're going to write a check for and issue mandates for here coming up in the future, maybe he wouldn't have that problem. But
Oh
no,
no,
I
no,
don't.
no.
I don't think he's
Can't
got
see.
any sort of specialized virus. I think it's just he's not feeling well. He's under the weather, as it were. So he decided to take the night off. So tonight you get me and Julie one-on-one for a change.
Yeah. All right. All right.
So I don't know what we're going to talk about. Did anything exciting happen here in the last couple of days in the state of Florida? Anything interesting go on?
Oh, a gigantic storm. But before we get to
Yeah.
that, let's do the
That
toast
happened?
before I get yelled at. Okay.
Well, first,
So
before we do the toast, we got to do the sponsors. So
absolutely.
Johnny Glock, Frontside Press, brought to you by Johnny Customs Glock, because your Glock is too short to have a life that's long enough for your trigger. So,
Oh my God.
Johnny Glocks, get yourself a custom Glock trigger, Mad Dog trigger. There's all kinds of triggers down there. Go check him out at, I think it's Johnny the Persona or whatever, because he can't really use the phrase. But you can find him on YouTube. Get yourself a Glock trigger because life's too short to have a trigger that sucks. I think that's right.
Yep. That's right.
He's expanding. He's getting some new locations, I think. He's hiring some new staff. So he's blowing through the roof there. So keep him busy by getting yourself a nice custom Johnny Glock. He's our primary sponsor, and we love him for it. So Johnny Custom Glocks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. The toast. All right. Here's health to all
Is there anybody
who
even
need
watching yet? Here's health to all who need it.
Yep. Get better, Mike.
I was gonna say, is that specifically for Mike? Like a toast?
Mike and
Toast to
Mafia
get
and
well for
anybody
all
else.
who need it.
Yep.
Well, it's
All
only
right, you're on.
8:07. They're probably not expecting us to be on for like another 10 minutes.
Oh, you're right.
When we're not waiting on Mike, we start either earlier or earlier-ish. Earlier-ish. What else? So we're doing a giveaway tonight, right? Like and share, comment. We'll get all this stuff out the way. What are we giving away this week or tonight?
There you go.
Frontside Press stand. I think we put pictures up those last week. Do you have the link? Is he running any promos this week, or is it just a standard link? Smoke Show 3D, as always. Yeah, smokeshow3d.com. Use code FSP for 10% off. So, yeah, these are the nice new stands that they're cranking out for us over there. Obviously, it's got the logos on there. They're still cranking out the Glock plate things where you put your Glock on there and you can push out all your pins and do your work and your maintenance on it. I know I'm using the highly technical terms of you slap it on there and push the pins out and do your maintenance stuff. Mm-hmm. That's obviously a little bit outside my wheelhouse, but Mike swears that he's gonna get with me one day and show me how to use that thing and fully take apart my Glocks, as opposed to just doing the whole take off the slide, pop out the stuff, scrub it with your things, spray it, wipe it down, put it back together, and it goes from there. So get into a little bit more intricate stuff. So tonight we're going to be giving away one of the stands, Frontside Press stands. So yes, like, share, subscribe, comment, all the standard stuff. It's everybody from last week and this week, right? We're combining the 2 weeks from last week. So if you did it last week, you're already in it, but you do it again this week, you can get in it some more, add some stuff on this current show right now, live as we speak. So make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe as always. Self-promotion, please go to Musings with MGL and subscribe. I actually picked up a couple new subscribers this week, so I think I'm on my way to 930 maybe, or 931 or something. So picked up a couple extra subscribers. So I would like to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That's coming up in 4 months or something. So October, September, October, November, December. Yeah, so 4 months. So if I can pick up 70 subscribers in 4 months and hit 1,000 by the end of the year, that would be a cool personal goal for me. So please, Musings with MGL, Facebook Frontside Press, like, share, subscribe,
Yeah,
follow,
get your friend.
comment,
Yep.
do everything. Oh,
Lewis
and
Soto.
if you subscribe, let me know. Let us know in the comments if you subscribe. You got to tell us what your YouTube name is that you subscribe, because you get an extra entry into the giveaway when you subscribe as well. So most people don't have their personal names, obviously, as their YouTube channel. So if you have a YouTube identity, when you subscribe, let me know somehow, or put it in the comments, or let the guys at Frontside Press know, so that way we can make sure we give you your extra entry for that.
All right, we have a lot of people watching already. Oh, 5. Okay. Lewis Soto and
Yeah,
Sean
right.
Hamilton. All right. We've got Lewis says, hello, everyone. Sean
Sponsored to win his
says,
own
Mike
thing.
got the package full of stuff the other day. Yes. Cat's watching. All right. So it's a little early. We'll get some more people on. Where did you go? Oh, we have a toast.
I like
We
my
did the
lighting. It
toast.
was too dark in here. I need to get some light on. That's better. All right. So yes, we already did the toast. Just to catch everybody up, Mike's sick. He bailed out. He's not here. It's me and Julie. We already did the toast. We already did the sponsors. We already did the like and share stuff. So if you're coming in late, you didn't miss anything.
Geneva's on. Hey, honey.
Hey. All right. So, did anything exciting happen in the state of Florida this week? Anything interesting going on? Anything that we missed?
Oh my gosh. Yes, the huge hurricane. Yep.
Well, I don't know if I call it huge. What did it end up finally hitting at? Like a category 2 or something? I think downgraded quite a quick before it hit the ground, but it was pretty.
It
pretty
got
rough.
to be a 4, but when it hit landfall up in the Big Bend, it was down at a 3. But it did a lot of damage up in that area.
Yeah, I think the rain flooding was crazy.
Yeah, Mike McGowan is watching. Hi, Mike.
Oh dear God, he can't win.
He's going to
wins,
criticize us.
He's got to donate it back.
Yeah. Like and share, Mike. Like and share, Geneva.
Go to YouTube, subscribe, Mike. I don't think you're subscribed.
Oh.
I don't know. He probably is.
All right. So
yeah. So we had a hurricane this week. A lot of flooding. It looked like okay down here, obviously, because it hit pretty north of us. I don't know. Did you have any damages or power outage or issues with your place?
I just had some small branches down. Much better than when we had Ian come through.
Yeah, last year was rough. So we got lucky this year. It went a little bit further north. Thoughts and prayers obviously go out to anybody up north who got hit by that. We got a personal connection to that. We'll talk about that in a little bit and bring everybody up to speed on it. But thankfully down here, yeah, we were okay. Just standard stuff. Yeah, the small branches in the road or whatever. Never lost power. Nothing exciting. Last year, obviously, we lost power for like 5 days and we're kind of trapped in the neighborhood for a little bit. So it was definitely a little bit rougher last year. But we made it through okay this year. So that's good.
Yeah.
We got a couple of days off work, which was nice. Well, I did anyway. They shut down the court systems for a couple of days. They shut down the schools for a couple of days. So the kids were home. And I got basically a couple of free days off work, which was kind of nice because there's no reason to go to the office when everything is shut down because there's literally nothing to do. So got a couple of days off work. Didn't do anything but hang around the house. Got caught up on some Netflix. Let's see, anything exciting? No, that's about it. So good news is everybody around here seemed to get through it okay.
Yep. Oh, Mike McGowan says, I'm subscribed. That's a good thing. So we have a question. Scott Stevie says, do you have any information on your site on pistol ammunition that is not legal in Florida? Why would you want to know about not legal?
I've never done a video on ammunition that's not legal. I mean, I could if that's something that people want us to talk about. I'd have to do a little bit of research on it, obviously, because off the top of my head, I mean, that might be a better question for Mike about like what is it? I guess it'd be what caliber size or certain
Not
Manufacturers,
the
I don't know actually.
Yeah, it would be. I don't know. Mike, come on, chip in there. So he's watching. So,
Well, I'm just trying to think of
but
like honestly, I don't know. It's a little bit of I mean, I guess a quick little Google search. Florida prohibits the manufacture, sale, or delivery of any armor-piercing bullet. And I was going to use that phrase a second ago, but I didn't know if that's like still an accepted phrase or if that's one of those made-up phrases that they said, created in the '90s or
dragon,
whatever to scare people. But armor-piercing bullets or exploding bullet or quote
yeah,
dragon's breath shotgun
dragon's
shell,
breath.
bolo shell, or flechette shell, FLECHETTE, flechette.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
So
Let's get Mike.
there's apparently some that's illegal. Obviously, it'd be a little
We'll work on that for next week.
tough stuff.
Get
But
Mike.
yeah, if that's a question, maybe we'll have Cindy on next week because it'll be the first Tuesday of the month for Ask the Gun Lawyers. So I'll tell her to do some research on legal and illegal ammunition, and we can cover that topic on next week's show. Sounds like an interesting
Mike does.
topic. I've actually never covered it myself.
Yeah, Mike does say dragon's breath.
Yeah,
So
that's like
no
one of the weird things. And again, they apparently the statute. It'll be easy to research. There's a statute that has armor piercing bullet gives a definition. Exploding bullet gives a definition. So there's a list of them here in the statute. So we will certainly research that, and I'll have Cindy give a little report on that next week. That's a good topic.
Very good. Very good.
We'll talk about that. For this week, since we're talking about hurricanes, there's a couple different topics that always come up when hurricanes come around. This year was no different. A lot of people were messaging me and going on Facebook and asking the question about a couple different things as it relates to firearms and storms. One of the main things people worry about, as you can imagine, during storms is securing their firearms, whether they're going to stay or whether they're going to evacuate. What do you do with your guns? How do you protect them? How do you protect yourself? What are the laws and stuff as it relates to firearms when it comes to hurricanes? So I was going to ask Mike, obviously, about the technical stuff of it. I mean, I would assume that you should always have your stuff stored in a safe manner. It should be in a safe that's already waterproof and fireproof, stuff like that. I would imagine is standard rule. So you should certainly keep them in a place that's going to be safe from flooding. If the place catches on fire, you don't want the stuff exploding and hurting firemen, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're in any sort of disaster like that, you should always have your stuff stored, I would imagine, in a safe manner. The main question that usually comes up is, what do you do if you have to evacuate? What's the rule on taking your firearms with you when you have to leave? Where can you take them? Can you take them to a shelter? How can you take them? Can you conceal carry them when you're evacuating, et cetera, et cetera? So that's always a topic that usually comes up. I'll kind of take it one step at a time, I guess. The main one that comes up is a lot of people automatically assume, and you see this all the time, that, the governor declared a state of emergency. Does that mean I can conceal carry now without my license? What do you think the answer to that is, Julie? I'm going to make you talk. What do you think the answer to that is?
Yes. No.
No.
I'm wrong. No.
Your second answer is correct. No. So I'm going to read you the relevant statute, and then I'll kind of just explain it and boil it up in a nutshell about what happens. So if there's a hurricane, like every other time of year, the carry and conceal rules are in effect. I'll get to what the new law does to that because the new law makes a little bit of change to it, but not much. But I'll get to the new law in a little bit. But let's take it under the old law. As we all know, you have to have a concealed carry permit to carry concealed. Again, I'll get to it in a minute about the new law, but let's take it under the old law. You had to have a permit. And so the problem would come is when a hurricane comes and you are ordered to evacuate because your house is about to flood, but you don't have a concealed carry permit. So what do you do with your firearms? Can you leave? Do you have to leave them there? Do you have to only put them in your glove compartment? What if you're riding in somebody else's car? What if you need it not just for evacuation purposes, but it's a hurricane and now you're moving around and you're having to flee to dangerous places. Maybe you wanted your firearm to go with you, but you don't have a concealed carry permit. So they came up with a law and it passed. And basically in 2006, actually, I think it may have been a little bit later than that, but essentially it falls under 790.01. So Florida statute 790.01 which is the carrying of concealed weapons or concealed firearms. That's the general statute that says you can't carry concealed. Again, it used to, et cetera, without a license. And then they changed that recently with the new law. But the subsection that's important here is subsection 5, which deals with what you do in an emergency. So subsection 5, a person does not violate this section if he or she or they, whatever, is lawfully in possession of a concealed weapon or a concealed firearm, as those terms are defined in 790.001, and carries such concealed weapon or concealed firearm on or about his or her person while in an act of evacuating during a mandatory evacuation order issued during a state of emergency declared by the governor pursuant to Chapter 252 or declared by a local authority pursuant to Chapter 870. As used in this subsection, the term, quote, in the act of evacuating means the immediate and urgent movement of a person away from the evacuation zone within 48 hours after a mandatory evacuation is ordered. The 48 hours may be extended by an order issued by a governor. All right, so let's break that down. So first off, you have to be in lawful possession of a concealed weapon or a concealed firearm, as those terms are defined in blah, blah, blah. So what does lawful possession mean? It means you have to be allowed to possess a firearm. So that means if you are a prohibited person, run down the list: convicted felon, convicted domestic battery, current domestic battery injunction, current risk protection order, ever been Baker acted by a court, illegal alien, all the standard people that are normally prohibited from firearms, you are still prohibited from possessing firearms. It doesn't matter if you're being evacuated, if there's a hurricane or not. If you are a prohibited person, you are a prohibited person, and you cannot lawfully possess a firearm. Not even just a concealed weapon or a concealed firearm, but you can't lawfully possess a firearm at all. So that does not exempt you from the statute. So if you're one of those prohibited people, you're shit out of luck. Grab a bat or, I don't know, a stick or something in case you're worried about hurricanes or fighting off gators on your way out the flooded area. So that's number one. You have to be lawfully in possession of it. And you have to carry such concealed weapon or concealed firearm on or about his or her person. That means, guess what? Can you have open carry, Julie?
No.
Good job, because it says obviously concealed carry. So yes, this law does not allow for open carry. It only allows for concealed carry. So you must conceal carry your firearm. You cannot open carry it. Unless you want to say that you're on your way to fish at the local flood and evacuation zone, and so you got your pole with you as well, you're not going to be able to open carry. So it does not allow you to open carry. You have to be carrying concealed. And you have to be in the act of evacuating during a mandatory evacuation order issued during a state of emergency declared by the governor or the local authority. So here's where, again, everybody gets all crazy, and they're like, oh, the governor issued a state of emergency, so that means I can carry, right? That's only one of the two things. It says you must be in the act of evacuating during a mandatory evacuation order, and it has to be during the state of emergency declared by the governor. So if you're in Miami and the hurricane's going to hit in Tallahassee and the governor issues a state of emergency, you can't conceal carry your firearm under this statute in Miami because you're not in a mandatory evacuation zone. So just because there's a state of emergency, it doesn't matter. It requires the two prongs together, a state of emergency, and you must be in a mandatory evacuation zone. So if you're in one of these barrier islands, et cetera, yeah, and the order comes out either from the governor or the local that says if you live on the island of Venice, you are under mandatory evacuation, then the statute kicks in. If you're not in a mandatory evacuation zone and one never gets issued for your house, then you can't carry. Go ahead.
Okay, so our people on St. Armand's Key and Longboat Key definitely could have carried because they were mandatory evacuation areas.
Correct. Yeah, it has to be a mandatory evacuation, not even a recommended one, or not even if you're in a flood zone, like you're not a mandatory evacuation, but then all of a sudden, you know, the river down the street clogs up and now your house starts flooding and you have to mandatorily evacuate, otherwise you're going to drown. it doesn't matter, because if your area wasn't designated a mandatory evacuation in an order, it says a mandatory evacuation order issued by the governor or by the state. So even if you have to mandatory evacuate because they never thought, neighborhood J would flood, and now it's flooding, it doesn't matter. The law doesn't kick in. You have to be in a zone that was mandatorily evacuated by an order. So those are the two prongs there. Then, as used in this subsection, the term "in the act of evacuating," because this is what a lot of other people want to know as well. What does "in the act of evacuating" means? As it says, it means the immediate and urgent movement of a person away from the evacuation zone within 48 hours after a mandatory evacuation is ordered. So you must be immediately and urgently moving out of the zone. So while you're basically packing up your shit from your house, you're allowed to conceal carry your firearm, get into your car, drive out of the mandatory evacuation zone, and go flee. Once you get over to Orlando to stay at the Holiday Inn for the weekend and wait for the storm to roll out, you are no longer immediately and urgently moving away from the evacuation zone. So you can't conceal carry your firearm walking around the city of Orlando waiting for the hurricane to roll itself out. You have to be immediately and urgently moving.
Okay, so Sean says, so what you're saying is to be responsible and get your CCW.
Right, because if you have your concealed carry permit, you can conceal carry anytime that you want, and none of it matters. I mean, that's always the case. And again, a lot of people are going to bring up the new law, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. So that's one of the main things, is you have to be immediately moving, and it's only good for basically the 48 hours after the mandatory evacuation is ordered. So at the 49th hour, you can't carry it. If the storm is over and you're coming back to your house from your hotel in Orlando, you can't conceal carry the firearm on your way back to your house because it's after 48 hours and you're not going away from it. So remember, that's what it says. Immediate and urgent movement of a person away from the evacuation zone. As stupid as it sounds, if you get your shit and you drive to grandma's house and drop a bunch of stuff off and then say, wait, I got to go back and get more stuff, technically on your way back, you can't conceal carry your firearm because you're now not going away from the evacuation zone. You're going back. So you'd have to put it in your glove compartment until you got home. Then you can conceal carry it again on your second trip out of the house. So it's not as broad as people think. There's a lot of things that go in it. So yes, as Sean says, if you have your concealed carry permit, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. You just conceal carry just like you're always allowed to conceal carry. But if you don't have your permit, you are subject to all those different things I put in there. You have to be lawful in possession. You have to carry concealed. You have to be in a mandatory evacuation zone. It has to be during a state of an emergency. And you have to be immediately and urgently moving away from the evacuation zone. Under all of those, if you meet all that criteria, you can conceal carry without a permit. Now, how does the new law affect that? Because everybody's like, well, what does this law matter anymore if we now have concealed carry where you don't need a permit? Yes is the main answer to that, with a few little caveats. What that means is, remember what is the key to being able to conceal carry a firearm without a permit? You have to be eligible to get a permit. So if you meet all the criteria that would allow you to carry it concealed when there isn't a hurricane, then you can still carry concealed when there is a hurricane. This statute doesn't matter to you if you are a person who is eligible for a permit and you just decided that you didn't want to get one. You could still carry under this statute. What this statute does is it knocks out all of those people, or it adds people who aren't those people. So what I mean by that is, take the first one. I'll give you some easy examples. Is lawfully in possession of a concealed weapon or concealed firearm. So to lawfully be in possession of one, you have to what? Be eligible to get a permit. Well, pop quiz, Julie. Throw out one category of person who can lawfully possess a firearm but would not be eligible to have a permit.
I don't know.
I'll give you a little hint. I'll give you a little hint.
All right.
How old do you have to be to get a permit?
18 or 21? I don't know.
21.
21. Okay.
How old do you have to be to lawfully possess a firearm?
18.
Any age that you want, basically. As an adult, you can have one at 18, but even if you're a juvenile, you can lawfully possess a firearm if you're in the presence of your family or a responsible person like a parent. When you're 18, 19, and 20, you are lawfully able to possess a firearm. You can have one in your glove compartment, securely encased. All those rules apply as well. But you are not eligible to get a permit until you are 21. So this law allows those people to also conceal carry. Normally, you wouldn't be allowed to because you're not eligible to have a permit and you can't have a permit. But this law says as long as you are in lawful possession of a firearm, so you're not a prohibited person, but let's say you're 18 or 19, you can lawfully be in possession of a firearm, but you're not eligible for a permit. So this law allows those people also to conceal carry a firearm. So just because we have the new concealed carry law, that still leaves out, categories of people who can't get a license, but yet they can still possess a firearm. This now allows them to carry as well. So this law, the original law about the hurricane, is actually more expansive than even the new permitless concealed carry law. So it's important to remember that when people say, well, what is this law? Why do we even need this law anymore? It's actually a more expansive law. There's other categories of people that this might fall into. So, for example, I've talked before, if you get a withhold of adjudication on a felony or a withhold of adjudication on a domestic battery, it does not make you a prohibited person because you got a withhold, so you didn't get a conviction. So even if you have a withhold on a possession of a felony charge, you're still allowed to possess firearms, but you are not eligible to get a firearm or a concealed carry permit until 3 years have passed from the completion of your sentence. So if you're somebody who finished your sentence on probation, but you're still within that 3-year gap to get a permit, this law will allow you to also conceal carry as long as you meet all those other criteria during the evacuation. So there are a lot of people out there who are lawful possessors of firearms, but they're not, for whatever technicality, eligible to actually get a permit. This law allows them to carry as well, as long as they meet all that criteria. So that's basically in a nutshell what the evacuation law means. Again, the biggest thing is just because there's a state of emergency doesn't mean you can carry anywhere that you want. And open carry is the biggest thing, because a lot of people thinks that means they can open carry. When you think about it, the point of the statute was a couple different things. They also don't want guns just sitting in people's houses, during evacuations, and they're worried about people abandoning their firearms and maybe being subjected to looters, et cetera, et cetera. So they wanted people to be able to secure and take their firearms with them. Now you could say, well, they could have just put them all in a gun box and taken them. Correct. So that's why criteria number one isn't the only important criteria. The other criteria is obviously for safety. I mean, if you're evacuating, there's all kinds of crap going on in the state when there's a hurricane. There's mass confusion, et cetera, et cetera. So they wanted people to feel comfortable enough to evacuate, because there might be some people that say, I don't want to leave my home if I can't carry a firearm around because I don't know if I'm going to be safe, et cetera, et cetera. So the whole point of that was that if you are in a situation where you have no choice, the government has basically ordered you to leave your home, they didn't want you to feel like you were unsafe or couldn't be protected when they're the ones that are basically forcing you to leave the home. So when you think of it in that context, that's why they have such the tight little rules, because everything else, doesn't really matter if they're the ones that are forcing you out of your house. They want you to be able to have it. Now, again, that's why I say immediate and urgent movement. So let's say, I get this all the time. Let's say you're evacuating from your home, you conceal carry your firearm, and you're going to the local high school shelter. Julie, do you think you can conceal carry your firearm in the local high school shelter?
No. School property.
That's an easy one. Correct.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. Correct. No, you cannot, because it's still school property. There is no statute that suspends the definition of a school property during a state of emergency or a mandatory evacuation. So if you're going somewhere that's not a school. I mean, let's say there's a church, I guess, maybe, and it's not one of those weird churches that has a school, but it hasn't opted out of the law. Like it's just a standard church, or I don't know, some industrial complex. I don't know. Let's say just somewhere else you're going that's not a school. As long as it's not one of the other prohibited places, you should be able to conceal carry your firearm into that facility. They may have signs, and it may be one of those private things or whatever. You could, you deal with that if you get caught down the road, but the signs don't have any weight. We've been all through that before. So there's nothing specific about not being able to take it to private places after you're evacuating. But if you're going to a school, which, as we know, 99% of the evacuation centers are some sort of a school, you cannot bring your firearm to the school. If you drive to the school, you can follow the normal rule, which is leave it securely encased in your car in your parking lot, and then you can go into the shelter and then come back out to your car afterwards. But you cannot conceal carry your firearm into a school shelter just because, even if you meet all those criteria, you can't do it. Number one, you probably couldn't anyway because you're no longer immediately evacuating. Like I said before, once you get to your hotel room, like it doesn't mean it doesn't hold weight anymore. Basically, it's not in effect anymore. So you'd have that issue, number one. But number two, just because it's a hurricane and it happens to be the shelter, it doesn't automatically change that. So you cannot carry when you go to the shelter with your firearm. So anybody have questions about that statute, 790.015A, evacuation during a hurricane?
So this is a good reason for you guys to sign up for Musings with MGL, and you want to rewatch this show. It's really important. So Sean has a question or a comment. The girlfriend's neighbor has been trying to get a CCW but got denied because of a drug charge from 50 years ago that said wouldn't be on his record. I'll pass it off to you, Jeffrey Young.
Yeah, I mean, you have
They
to
need to
figure out,
contact you.
right. I mean, the number one thing would be to contact me or some other
Yeah.
lawyer. If they're locally, obviously they would contact me. I do that a lot. I help people with their denials and their suspensions. The problem is, and a lot of people don't understand this, is not to be gross, but felonies are like herpes. Like they don't go away. Once you get them, like they're always there. So even if you got a felony 50 years ago, if it's a felony in 2023. Like they're not like traffic tickets where they fall off your record after 7 years or whatever. Once you got a felony conviction, you have a felony conviction. Especially in the state of Florida, is it possible that maybe there's in some random state like Idaho, they have some rule about felonies coming off your record after a certain number of years? I guess. I don't know. I don't practice anywhere other than Florida, obviously. So I don't know what those individual states are. But the general rule is if it's a conviction for a felony, it's always on your record. Every state has ways to fix that record, though. So state of Florida has a clemency process where you can apply to get your firearm rights restored. Other states, and I know this for a fact, other states have mechanisms in their statutes that allow you to apply to have things sealed or switched over to misdemeanors or whatever. Every state has their individual rule. So the first step would be to find out exactly what the conviction is, and then you can find out whether it's actually a qualifying conviction or not. Lots of times, if they're 50 years ago, the records don't exist anymore. I have a lot of people that had it pops up like that, and then when you go back and look at their records from like the 80s, sometimes you can still find records, and it was actually a different charge than was actually reported to FDLE. So you get the records from the clerk's office, and you can straighten out their criminal history. Unfortunately, though, what I find most of the time is people just assume that it's been so long, or they even forgot about it. Some of them, you're 21 years old in 1965 and you get a pot charge and you plead to get out of jail. And then 50 years later, you want to buy a firearm and you probably forget all about your pot charge or doesn't know what it is. And you go try and buy a gun and all of a sudden, boom, you get rejected. So it's possible that it's reported. It's a mistake. They make lots of mistakes up there at the Department of Agriculture. So it's possible that it's a mistake, or it's possible that unfortunately there may be something on his record that he just can't clear up and he's got to go, or she's got to go the clemency route to try and get it fixed. So the number one thing is obviously call me. I could talk to them. I can get the information, and then I can see exactly which category that's in, and we can figure out which way we want to address it.
Can you put your phone number up? Can we do that?
I'm I'm not in control of it. 941-953-9692. Yeah, that's the office number. Yeah, 941-953-9692. You can also go to minnesotagunlawyer.com. That's my website, and it's got my contact information on. You can actually contact us. There it is. Yeah, that's the easiest thing to do. Just go to the website. It's got the phone number on there. You can do a contact actually right through the website, and they'll send me an email, and we can set up a consult, et cetera, et cetera. So just go to the website and do that. So yeah, a lot of people, again, they just forget about what their history is, but it's easy to clear up once you figure out what's going on.
Yep. Need a good
All right,
lawyer.
let's see. So the other question that I always get during hurricanes, what do you think the second most popular question is during hurricanes, Julie?
Oh, no clue. I hunker down. I'm good. So I have no idea. So
Well,
what is
Governor
it?
DeSantis has a message for people who want to know the answer to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Can we shoot looters?
There you go. That's definitely the number 2 question. Lots of times it's the
Yeah.
number 1 question, but it's definitely at least the number 2 question. So yeah, the question is always: are you allowed to loot shooters during a
Shoot
hurricane?
looters.
Shoot.
Not
Did I
loot
say loot
shooter.
shooters? Are you allowed to loot shooters? Good luck with that. You probably get shot.
Yeah.
Can you shoot looters during or after a hurricane? So here's the deal. I'll just quickly go through what our governor said during his press conference yesterday. He did his press conference yesterday, and he kind of went through it. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis told would-be thieves that law enforcement in the Sunshine State would not tolerate anyone taking advantage of the chaos in the aftermath of Hurricane Idalia, warning, "You loot, we shoot." I'd also just remind potential looters, you never know what you're walking into, he said during a press conference. People have a right to defend their property. This part of Florida, you got a lot of advocates and proponents of the Second Amendment, and I've seen signs at different people's yards in the past after these disasters, and I would say it's probably here. You loot, we shoot. The governor was responding to reports of people trying to loot in Steinhatchee, I don't know, a town of 537 people.
Yeah.
Let's see. You never know what's behind that door. If you go break into someone's house and you're trying to loot, these are people that are going to be able to defend themselves and their families, he added, so don't even think about looting. So this is a standard question that always comes up when there's a hurricane. So I guess the first response is going to be there is no special statute that says after a hurricane, like all the rules of deadly force are out the window. Like there's nothing that says, the standard rules of imminent fear of death or great bodily harm or to stop a force of felony or suspended during a state of emergency or something like that. There's no such statute that says anything like that. I know they passed that statute a couple years ago that talked about, rioters and stuff like that. But again, it never changed any of that, despite what all the people in the media and everything would tell you. It made no actual change to the rules of self-defense. But here's where you're allowed to do it, for lack of a better term, I guess. And again, I'm not saying you're allowed to do it, but the same rules generally apply during a hurricane. Again, imminent use of imminent threat of death or great bodily harm, or to stop a forcible felony. And then, of course, we have the Castle Doctrine, which basically says that if somebody's breaking into your home, there's a presumption that they are going to commit some sort of a forcible felony, because why else would they be breaking in your home? The list of forcible felonies starts off with Mike's favorite crime. What's Mike's favorite crime in the forcible felonies, Julie? Quick, pop quiz.
Treason.
Treason is bitches. So number one, right, treason. So forcible felony, treason, murder, manslaughter, sexual battery, carjacking, home invasion, robbery, burglary. There it is. Arson, kidnapping, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, et cetera, et cetera. So burglary is among the list of what's called a forcible felony. So you are permitted under the statute to either use deadly force or the threat of deadly force to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to yourself or to another, or to prevent the commission of a forcible felony. And the forcible felony includes burglary. Burglary basically is defined as entering a dwelling, a structure, or a conveyance with the intent to commit on offense therein, unless the premises are at the time open to the public or the defendant. So if you really believe that somebody is entering your affordable home to commit an offense, that's a theft, you're legally allowed to use deadly force to prevent that. So again, but that's the standard rule. That's always been the rule in the state of Florida. They don't suspend that or change anything about those rules during a hurricane. I will always give you the caveat, though, as always, every case is going to be different and every case is going to be fact specific. So even though burglary, is stuck in there, we've said this before 1,000 times, you can't use deadly force because somebody's breaking into your empty car. Like, you're never not going to get charged or prosecuted for something like that. And you could try and argue all day long about whether it fits the statute or doesn't. You're not going to be able to do that because it doesn't extend to property, and that's kind of a property. When it says burglary, the general rule is that you're supposed to be in the home or in the vehicle or structure or whatever that's being burgled. So if you just come upon somebody trying to break into your car, you can't use deadly force on them because even though it says burglary, like, it's just not going to fly. But the assumption is if you're in your home and somebody's coming in, you can use force or threat of deadly force to stop them. But again, everything's going to be fact specific. Like, if you're just strolling through your neighborhood trying to protect everybody's home in some sort of a vigilante thing, and you see somebody crawling through the window of your neighbor Bob's house, you shouldn't go up and just shoot the guy, because you're going to have a hard time justifying that, even though it could be considered a forcible felony and they're going into the home. It's kind of one of those things. If it's not your home, the Castle Doctrine is not going to apply, so you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt of the presumption. So the same rules apply. It doesn't. The biggest takeaway is nothing changes just because it's a hurricane, and you're still going to be subject to scrutiny about it. Like, what is it Mike always says? If you're going to shoot somebody, you are committing a crime. Like, whether you want to say it's self-defense or not, you have to commit a felony in order to exercise self-defense, and it's going to be up to you to try and argue that that felony is justified, or that use of force is justified. So the same rules apply. Nothing changes in a hurricane. So don't think just because people are looting that you can just go around and shoot them. If people are looting your local 7-Eleven, like, there's no reason to worry about those kind of things. Protect yourself, protect your family, and protect your home. Certainly if you guys are inside of it, and then you should be, okay. But if you go anywhere above and beyond that, that's where you're going to run into a problem. And then that's where that whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing is what that whole issue was about. Like, had that been people trying to break into his own home and he shot them with his AR, he never even been prosecuted. But because he traveled somewhere else and was trying to protect other people's property and stuff, he found himself in that situation. Obviously, that was self-defense. The shootings were perfectly justifiable. Anybody with 2 brain cells could see that. But the reason he was arrested and prosecuted all along is because it wasn't a clear-cut case where people were looting his own house and looting his own neighborhood. So just follow your own standard rules about safety for yourself and your family, and lock up your shit. Make sure people can't get to your stuff, and you should be fine. But there is no suspension of the self-defense or use of deadly force rules during a hurricane.
And Mike says, even if they're a treasonous bitch.
Well, look, all I'm saying is treason's number one. So if you can prove somebody's committing treason and you had to murder them in order to stop that, I'll try that case depending on the situation, I guess.
Get Jeff's
It's
number.
funny that that's still in there though after all this time, right? It's so funny. Treason and number one. That's just hilarious.
Yeah.
And treason's so subjective too. I don't even know if there's a definition. There probably is a definition of treason in Florida statutes. So you got to make sure they're committing treason.
I think we're seeing that right now. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna look that up for next week. I'm gonna give Julia Cindy a second thing
Homework
to find out what
assignment.
the actual Florida definition of treason is.
Good.
But yeah, don't be crazy with it. When a hurricane's coming, get your gas for your generator, get your food, get your water, make sure that your house is secured and your people are secured, and just wait it out. Don't go out looking for trouble. Let everybody else deal with that.
Hunker down or evacuate, but yeah, don't look for trouble. You got enough trouble.
Exactly. Now what? What are the other questions?
I think we're good.
So yeah, so don't. Again, I'm just reading from the reason article and from the Florida statutes, but it just the important thing is it just doesn't change anything. So it's the same statutes. So don't go around doing crazy stuff.
Sean
And remember
says,
this standard disclaimer: this is not specific legal advice. This is an entertainment show.
yep. Sean says, if I shoot a looter, can I loot the looter?
Keep what you kill.
Your own stuff back. That'd be cool. All right. So we're gonna end it early tonight.
So I don't know. We gotta. So what's the? All right. So let's talk about Jordan, right?
Jordan, yes.
All right. So
Yes.
yeah, we gotta Jordan Spradley. We're gonna put it up on the screen here. Apparently, his parents, I think, were really affected in the hurricane. He has a GoFundMe page that he's trying to collect money for his parents. So his parents were in one of the worst hit areas of the hurricane in Horseshoe Beach. With the little info we have at the moment, it looks like their house is still standing, but received lots of water inside, and everything is either ruined or gone. Not sure how they're going to feel about this, but they're the type of people that even if they have nothing, they're still helping and doing things for others. So if there was ever a time that they needed help back, this is surely it. Any funds go towards getting them in a habitable situation. So yeah, Jordan's parents apparently were in a really bad area up there. Jordan's obviously a friend of the show. He's a friend of the gun community, personal friends of everybody here. So any help that anybody can give to them, please do. They could certainly use it. I'm sure that they're going to have insurance and stuff. But I had family down in Venice last year that got flooded out. The insurance is great, but that shit takes time. Like especially if your house isn't livable. Good luck trying to get FEMA to help you with a place to stay. It's tough to get insurance to roll in right away and put you up. So you do need money on the very beginning front end to help with, getting a hotel room or any sort of remediation you can do while you're waiting for the insurance. So any help anybody can give to Jordan would be greatly appreciated to his families, and thoughts and prayers to them. And again, anybody else in the hurricane. I haven't seen any reports of anybody. Have there been any deaths or anything related with this?
I think there was
hurricane?
one panhandle. I think there was one in the panhandle that I'd heard on the news. Yeah.
Deaths from Hurricane Dahlia. I mean, they're calling it a deadly tropical storm, but I don't know. They always do that. 100-year-old.
Yeah.
100-year-old oak tree falls on the governor's mansion in Tallahassee. Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, it split right in half. Yeah. Yeah, it was
Not as bad as it may have been. Yeah, I actually don't see any. I see it right now. The death toll of the storm remains officially at 0. That was 6 hours ago. So
good.
as of right now, it's 0. I mean, I would imagine one day ago, Fox Houston reported that 2 people were confirmed dead, but that doesn't make any sense because again, this is from the Tampa Bay Times, which is they're local, so I would take them more over the Houston Chronicle.
There was an elderly couple that had disappeared, and they found them deceased. I don't know if it was in their home. But they did find them.
Okay, so that could be related.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it says that toll remains officially at 0, so we'll see. And then, then this one says, Al Jazeera says that three people have been killed as Hurricane Ida slammed into the Florida coastline. Al Jazeera, they're still a freaking real place. I don't know.
And
2 people died in traffic accidents that the police linked to harsh conditions. So that's
it was pretty bad. Yeah, on the highways. We need to do
the yeah. So anyway, shout out to them. Any help you can give them would be great. Glad the hurricane wasn't any worse than that. So that's good. All right, we're gonna do the giveaway. We're gonna she's gonna get the wheel all set, ready to go. So and then we're gonna give the giveaway. But interesting. So that's good that no real deaths from it. It definitely went down. It was going to be crazy earlier in the week, and then it just kind of went down. And they got rocked like up in Georgia and everywhere too. The videos I was watching yesterday showed a hell of a lot more in Georgia. I think a lot of people than Florida did. So.
Yep.
That's good. So anyway, so there you go. So we're going to do a giveaway here. And then as always, yeah, like and share. Remember, like, comment, and share. Will the people doing it this week also be in for next week? So they're getting a double. They're getting in this week and next week. Cool. We're going to keep it rolling. So every week, get in there and please like and subscribe to yeah. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We can give away another one of these away. We can give away. I think we're going to give away a trust next week. I got to talk to Cindy and see if she's willing to give
Oh,
away a
yeah.
trust as a
That's
gift. If she's
awesome.
not, I'll give away a trust either way. But we'll next week, since it's the first Tuesday of the month.
Yep.
As always, Cindy Clark will be here.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Where's your daughter to holler at you? Thursday.
Always, Cindy Clark will be here. So we're going to do a little bit of law talk this week. We did a little bit of law talk this week too, but it was at least topic specific. There was no reason to wait till next week to talk about that. But we'll do it next week. Cindy will be here. So if you got any other legal questions, next week we're going to find out the definition of treason and what
Yep.
illegal ammunition is, and then we'll cover those topics and any other topics we got next week. So for this week, let's go ahead and make bust the deal, spin the wheel, and see who the winner is.
Here we go.
If you're prone to motion sickness, do not watch the screen for the next couple seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you don't want to cluck like a chicken whenever I say treason, don't watch.
Oh, who's this? Lana, yeah.
Lana. That was by
Awesome.
like a tenth of an immeasurable inch. She clicked over there.
It was really close. Yay, Lana.
Parker going right up
She's
to it without
clutching.
going over.
All right, good deal.
All right, good
Guys,
job. Congratulations. Is it Lana or Lana?
Yes.
Lana? Lana.
She says-
Congratulations, Lana. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then next
Guys,
week,
watch it again. We're at the peak of hurricane season. Watch this again. All right.
Yeah.
I'm done.
As always, thanks for watching. Tune in next week for the first Tuesday of the month. We're going to have the gun lawyers on here. I'm always on here, but we'll have the other gun lawyer on here, Cindy. Mike will probably be back next week, assuming he's over the virus of unspecified origin from a country that shall not be named. Although I'm not saying he's got that. I'm just throwing that out there for the hell of it. Get your 11th booster shot. The president says so, and then you won't have to worry about getting COVID. I heard a guy the other day he's had 11 shots and he's gotten COVID 3 times. So go the fuck figure. Stay safe, stay vigilant. If you survived the hurricane, I hope you're okay. Like and subscribe. Go to Musing, like and subscribe. Like and share and subscribe. Go to Musings with MGL, and we will see you next Thursday for first Thursday of the month.
Yep.
Peace
Bye,
out.
guys.